Empaths are needed in 3 ways all around the world today. And if you are an empath, put 2 hearts in the comment section because this post is for you. And you feel it, don't you? The weight of the world, the emotions that aren't even yours, the exhaustion from always carrying the burdens of others. And yet you keep giving, you keep feeling, you keep showing up. But that's just who you are. But tell me, who's showing up for you? Too many empaths burn out. They feel unappreciated, unheard, misunderstood. You wonder if your sensitivity is a weakness or a curse. But let me tell you the truth. Your empathy is a gift. It's a power. And the world would be cold without you. Empaths bring 3 priceless things to the world. Number 1. You bring healing. Your presence alone calms the storm. People feel safe around you, but when was the last time you felt safe? Number 2, you bring understanding. You see what others miss. You hear what isn't spoken. You make people feel seen, but do you feel seen? Number 3, you bring transformation in a real way. Empaths make great business owners because they create impact-driven success. If you're an entrepreneur, you don't just make money, you change lives. But are you hiding in the background instead of stepping into your purpose? You don't have to carry everything alone ever again. This is exactly why I wrote the ebook, A Piece Called Love. It's for empaths. It's for people like you. Because understanding your gift is the key to protecting your peace while still being the light the world needs. If you're tired of feeling drained, misunderstood, and lost in emotions that aren't even yours, this is for you. Now, shine bright. If you didn't know, now you know.
You're trying to tell me that the civilization that constructed this beauty is less advanced than the civilization we live now? Are you seriously going to try and convince me that we live in an advanced civilization? Ain't nobody convincing me that our civilization is advanced. Just look at Poland, then and now. What about the Netherlands, then and now? You know, like the power of the internet, it's always been here. You're trying to tell me that this type of civilization that constructs such beauty and etiquette towards their architectural designs didn't have advancing technology? You know, in the start of the 1900s, they literally took the ether out of the periodic table. But obviously, this was all just for entertainment, guys. I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
Heaven isn't something that happens after you die. Heaven is something that happens while you're alive. Jesus said, God is not a God of the dead, He's a God of the living. In Psalm 55:15, it says something else that I think bears out what we're talking about and what Buddha talked about hell. It says here, let death seize upon them and let them go down quick into hell. Now watch, for wickedness is in their dwellings and among them. Your dwelling in the Bible and ancient mysticism is always your mind. Wickedness is in your mind. Wickedness is among them means it's a part of us. You know, it's the things that you... Look at all of the thoughts you've had today. Look at all of the things. Your mind has been having a conversation with you all day, and sometimes it just scares the pants off of you, doesn't it? It tells you the evil things. Oh, what are you going to do? Sometimes you're sitting down watching TV, and you're just nice and comfortable, and you're enjoying the show, and you're at total peace, and all of a sudden your mind tells you, oh, tomorrow you got to meet so-and-so. What are you going to say? Bang, you've gone from heaven to hell, just like that happened. Your mind will never leave you alone. Your mind is the accuser. In the book of James, I think James makes it very clear. James talks about the tongue, okay, as being hell, because he says in James 3:6 that the tongue is set on fire of hell. In other words, you speak words of accusation, you speak words of guilt, you speak words of depression, you speak words of fear and anxiety, and they all come from hell, which is your mind. All of the words that you speak originate in your carnal mind, unless you've been into meditation, where then you yield up your carnal mind, or the left side of the brain, to that which is the higher mind, or the divine consciousness, through profound meditation. Buddhism describes hell as a place of inner torment, which one projects into the environment in which you live. In other words, if hell is raging in you, it will be felt by everyone around you. You have hell raging in you during the day. You send your kids off to school with hell raging in you, and you've given it to them. They go to school with hell raging in them, and then they spin it off, and before you know it, hell's raging in everybody, because it's extremely contagious. It is negative attitudes. It is anger. It is fear. It is that which oppresses others and ridicules others. And it's these things which come out of the carnal mind. See? The Japanese word for hell is jigoko. Jigoku. It means the lowest, to be bound or to be imprisoned. See, there is hell, because you're bound by pain. You're either bound by physical pain or you're bound by mental pain. See? And when that happens, you can't think or you can't act freely. The vital life energy is just sapped away from you. That's hell. Your thoughts, your hopes, your emotions are pulled into the lowest. It's a state of death. Life holds no joy for you. You don't have to die to go to hell. You're living in hell. The world, as you can see it, look at the destruction. Teenage suicide is the second leading killer of teenagers in the United States. Those people are living in hell. And they inherited most of that from those who taught them, including the churches, who warned them and scared the pants off of them about a devil and about demons, about going to hell and about God going to punish them and all that nonsense. We put kids in hell. We put kids in stress and fear before they had a chance even to become 10 years old. They've seen people down in Little League fields scaring the pants off of their kids. If they dare not play right, or if they miss the ball, what's going to happen to them? You got kids at 7 and 8 years old on guilt trips already, in stress, and they wonder why they're committing suicide by the time they're teenage. That's hell. This is the point. Heaven is real, and heaven is in the higher consciousness. Hell is real. Hell is in the lower consciousness. If you dwell in the lower mind, you're dwelling in hell, and you know it. If you dwell in the higher mind, which most of you have never even experienced, you'll be dwelling in heaven. That's where you open yourself to the instructions from God. In Psalm 55:4, it says, "My heart is sore, pained within me. All the terrors of death are fallen upon me." That's hell. Hell is what you think. In many instances, Buddha says that the instance of hell causes a reaction of rage, not against others, but against ourselves. That's the great problem. Disease, cancers, arthritis, ulcers, high blood pressure, aggravated and in some instances caused, and in many instances healing not allowed, because hell is raging inside. The rage of frustration. It's a violence against others, and then it's suicide. It's a violence against yourself. Terrible frustration. Don't you see what Buddha had found, and he tried to show people? Hell isn't something that happens after you die. Hell is something that happens when you're alive. Heaven isn't something that happens after you die. Heaven is something that happens while you're alive. Jesus said, God is not a God of the dead, he's a God of the living. In Psalm 55:15, it says something else that I think bears out what we're talking about and what Buddha talked about hell. It says here, "Let death seize upon them, and let them go down quick into hell." Now watch. "For wickedness is in their dwellings and among them."
It really is crazy how we're just like watching food become an aesthetic. Like, I see people aestheticizing like tomatoes and tinned fish and like saltine crackers. We're down bad if we're like, oh my god, look how pretty my head of lettuce is. What? Not to say that you can't find beauty in food, because trust, if there's any bitch that's finding beauty in food, it's my ass. Eating is a religious experience for me. But I'm starting to see like charcuterie boards on shirts, and like there's like food on everything now. And I know that there's someone out there who is smarter and has better thoughts on this. And I know like wasn't there like didn't Hailey Bieber do like a campaign recently with like groceries, and people were talking about like the kind of theme of food. I know I'm not the first to have this thought, and I know that people have had more thought out think pieces than I have, but for me, I'm just like surprised to see a bitch with a tomato on her shirt. I'm like, girl.
If you want an easy example for why religion is by men for men, look at how it deals with menstruation. If you are Hindu and on your period, you cannot enter temples, perform pujas, or even touch sacred objects. In Shintoism in Japan, if you are on your period, you cannot enter sacred shrines or perform rituals. In many kinds of Islam, if you're on your period, you cannot pray or enter mosques. There are still some religious sites that will not even allow women of menstruating age. The Sabarimala temple in India finally reversed that through a court case in 2018, so like very recently. Some Christian Orthodox traditions say that you can't handle the Eucharist if you're on your period. In some Buddhist texts, because women are impure because they have menstruation, they have to reincarnate as a man to achieve enlightenment. We have records of theological debates in medieval Christianity where they're trying to decide whether menstruating women can handle the Bible or participate in theological discussions while they're on their period. Judaism, of course, has many rules around menstruation, and you have to do a ritual to purify yourself after menstruation. You're not allowed to touch your husband during it. It's a whole thing. Like across Buddhism and Hinduism, we have ideas that the woman's body is more impure, and so it's going to make their spiritual progress harder. But of all the religions that have told me that I'm impure in some way because my body does something that is very natural to my body, the one honestly that hurts the most is Jesus. Because when Jesus bleeds and Jesus gets blood everywhere, it is sacred and it is life-giving and it's life-affirming, and we're gonna do all of these rituals to show how life-affirming this blood is. It's sacred blood. And there's something to me just so hypocritical about women's bodies that create life and blood being a part of that, but yet when a man does it, it's sacred, and then when a woman does it, it's unclean and it's impure, and you're less than, and your body is less than, and you're gonna have a hard time becoming enlightened, and you're gonna be less spiritual, you're gonna have less access to spirituality. But when Jesus bleeds, that blood is okay. Jesus' blood did nothing and is praised as everything. But when a woman bleeds and that actually is tied to her ability to create life, it's impure. So not only did the Christian God take everything, like he creates everything without female, but Jesus also took the blood too. And then the women who bleed and actually create life are less than. And that is just such bullshit. There are a lot of things about Jesus that I like, but really what I hate the most is I just had someone yesterday say, I love Jesus because he's the perfect balance of masculine and feminine. And I said, that's great, but we only accept femininity or life-giving blood as sacred when it comes from a man. And that actually does have a cost for women if we only accept femininity when it comes with a penis. So I'm just gonna leave that there and walk away.
Narcissistic mothers are always like, I'm your mother, and you need to treat me with respect. But then they also verbally abuse their children on a daily basis from birth well into adulthood, all in the name of supply. They bring children onto this planet to impose a job on them of being a lifetime source of supply, an extension of themselves, who can't have their own opinions, and to play the role of their mini-me, who's responsible for soothing their fragile little ego at all times. They'll find it disrespectful and have a little temper tantrum when they don't get their way. They feel entitled to being praised and getting a medal or something for providing the basic legal requirements that kept them out of jail and child protective services off of their radar, like food, shelter, clothing, taking you to school. And they feel superior because they think the label of mother dismisses any and all the psychological and emotional damage that they inflicted onto their children, who are now adults, who have to spend their adulthood healing from their childhood if they want to experience any level of sanity for the rest of their lives. So yeah, Contradiction City.
End of an age. The age of deception is collapsing, and the age of truth is beginning. This is why everything feels different. Time itself is unraveling, reality is shifting, and more people are waking up to the greatest lie ever told. Death is not an escape, it is a trap. And if you fall into it without knowledge, without awareness, you are set back into the cycle, again and again, lifetime after lifetime. But this time, something is different. This time, your ancestors are watching, they are waiting. Because if you wake up before you die, you don't just free yourself, you free them too. Every ancient civilization knew that something unnatural happened to souls after death. They left warnings, instructions, rituals, but those teachings have been erased, distorted, or labeled as myth. Tibetan Buddhist texts describe the bardo, where trickster beings appear, luring souls back into reincarnation. The Egyptian Book of the Dead warns of a false afterlife, where souls are judged and sent back, repeating the cycle. The Gnostic texts describe archons, entities that control the material realm and feed off human souls, keeping them bound in illusion. Even the Bible warns us that Satan masquerades as an angel of light, 2 Corinthians 11:14. Many near-death experiences describe being pulled into a bright, warm light where they are met by guides or loved ones. They are given a choice, but always the path leads back to earthly reincarnation. But what if that light is not salvation, but a recycling mechanism? What if your ancestors have been trapped in this system for generations, waiting for someone, you, to break the cycle? The rulers of this world know the truth. The elites who control this world, those in power, those in secret societies, those who manipulate economies, governments, and media, they know this truth. This is why they keep you asleep. They flood your life with distractions, entertainment, social media, endless conflict to ensure you never stop to question reality. They manipulate religions and history, ensuring that true spiritual knowledge is buried or demonized. They fund scientific projects like CERN, searching for ways to control time, portals, and the very fabric of existence. They know that if enough people wake up, the prison shatters. Your DNA is a key. Your DNA is more than just genetic coding. It is a record of your lineage, carrying the memories, knowledge, and spiritual essence of those who came before you. Your ancestors were tricked just like you have been. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. They manipulated human DNA to sever our connection to the divine, trapping us in a lower frequency where we forget who we are upon birth. The veil is lifting. We are in the final war, not just of nations, but of souls. The age of deception has ruled for thousands of years, keeping humanity in submission, ignorance, and forgetfulness. But now the age of truth is emerging. Every prophecy, revelation, the Vedic texts, Hopi legends, speaks of a great awakening before the end of the cycle. This is why the world is unraveling, why governments are scrambling, why CERN is playing with time, why AI is being forced upon us. They know we are waking up, and they are desperate to keep us asleep. If you want to escape the trap, if you want to break your ancestors free, you must prepare now before death comes. Know the trap. If you die in ignorance, you'll follow the light without questioning it. Don't stop, question, look around, demand to go beyond. Call upon the divine source. Not the false gods, not the deceptions of this realm, but the true creator beyond time and space. Reject the illusion, refuse any contract, any agreement, any being that tries to lure you back into the cycle. Your will is your weapon. Remember who you are. You are more than a body, more than a name. You are eternal, and the prison only works if you believe in it. Your ancestors are counting on you. You are the last in the line. The cycle ends with you, or it continues for generations. The ultimate question is this: will you wake up before you die, or will you, like so many before you, be led back into the loop? The choice is yours, but time is running out.
You can leave. You can leave. You know that, right? If you're not being treated the way you want to be treated, and you already communicated that, you can get up and leave. If they ain't treating you right, and then they said, I'm sorry, and you forgave them and took them back, and they keep doing it, trust me, they're gonna keep on doing it. So I don't know why you're wasting your time.
I'm an atheist over an agnostic. One of the things that was most damaging to my testimony when I was in theology school was actually studying what kinds of societies create what kinds of gods. And it got to the point where you could give me a society and tell me how it functions, and I will tell you what kind of god they had, and I would be right. If your society was dependent on trade, you would have polytheistic tolerant gods. We're talking Hindu gods, Roman gods. They don't require a lot of people, and also by being tolerant for diverse beliefs, it allows for flowing trade. If the society is a hierarchy with a strict authoritarian leader at the top, then the gods will also be that too. That god will be omnipotent and controlling. Think Islam. If you have a small egalitarian hunter-gatherer society, then you have animism, and your god will not really be watching over your morality. In fact, we only get gods who need to watch over people's morality when the society gets too big that it can't kind of self-manage. So for example, if you're a thief in a small tribe, then everybody knows that you're a thief and you pay a social cost for that. But if you're in a big society, you actually don't actually know who everybody is, and so you need God to kind of fulfill that role of I'm watching you. If you live in an environment where there is unpredictable weather and natural disasters, you're going to have some chaotic, moody gods. Think Mesopotamian gods, Aztec gods. You're also going to have a lot of rituals in these religions because you need these rituals to feel safe in a very unpredictable world. In a society where you have large-scale agriculture that actually is stable, you can get benevolent gods because you need long-term cooperation, you need empathy and things like that in order to have long-term stability. But if you are nomadic, you get punitive gods, because if you are on the run and you're just kind of going from land to land with your animals and someone comes and steals your animals, that is devastating. And so you need a god that will punish that for generations. And we can actually watch this happen in the Bible when we watch the Old Testament God turn into the New Testament God, because there are society differences that allowed that to happen. We can even look at weather. How dependent are you on agriculture? If you're very dependent on agriculture, then you need gods that are storm gods because they control the weather. If you have a society that values reason or the values of like the Enlightenment, you're going to get a deist god. So this would be a creator god, but not one that has emotions, not the one that's moved by personal prayer, not a personal god. This is what this is the god that the founding fathers believed in because they valued rationality. So that's the kind of god that you get, just a god that's impersonal, who created the universe, but doesn't really care about us beyond that. That was like a 10-hour lecture that I tried to whittle down to 3 minutes, but I even see this individually. If you talk to people about their beliefs in God as much as I do, you see that they created the exact God that they need. People who psychologically need more order and structure to psychologically function have a more black and white defined God. People who are naturally empathetic or have compassion as a core value will have a God of love. If you needed a revolution, you created a revolutionary kind of God. The God of black churches in America is different than the God of white churches in America, because black churches definitely needed a Jesus who would come, who would make the first last and the last first. They needed that kind of revolution, so they really leaned on that kind of restorationist theology. People who cannot function in this world psychologically, knowing that good guys sometimes lose and bad guys sometimes win, need a God of ultimate justice. So I'm an atheist not because I've looked out into the universe and I know for sure that there is no God. I also don't know how to explain kind of life on Earth. It's still, fundamentally mysterious to me. I'm an atheist because we create God, and I can prove that how we do that as a society, and I can also see how we do that individually. If you tell me the God that you believe in, I can learn a lot about you and what you need and what your fears are and what your subconscious desires are, and that kind of tells me that we are the ones creating God rather than God creating us.